part of the way you earn trust is by action. And what this government is all about is action.
Okay, let's keep going. Carney is this one I really want to talk about because Carney is asked about the Ambassador Bridge blockade during the 2022 Freedom Convoy. And he says, oh, my goodness, what would I know about the Freedom Convoy? I was just a guy back then. I just became a politician weeks ago. Okay, buddy. I'll tell you why you're not just a politician newbie on the scene on this issue after we hear from him, thinking we're all hard of remembering for some reason.
Right.
You're in an area that back in 2022 was the site of a week-long blockade by people who were angry about the Trudeau government's COVID policies. What do you say to those Canadians who lost trust in the Liberal government back then and do not have trust in you now because of your affiliation with that party?
Well, look, I haven't been a politician. I became a politician 2 months ago, a little more than 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago. And I came in because I knew this country needed big change. We needed big change in the economy. We needed big change in how we supported people. We needed big change to deal with Trump. And I think you've seen that in the short time that my government has been in place, that big change. We canceled the consumer carbon tax. We got rid of the capital gains tax. We put in place a series of protections for workers with respect to the Trump tariffs, whereas Mr. Poilievre would just use all of that money that belongs to them because they're the ones who are being hit, use them to cut taxes for others. We extended dental care. We negotiated new security partnerships with our oldest partners in France and the UK. I could go on, but Mr. Chase is waiting. Part of how you re-earn trust, and I understand the frustrations of those people, I understand the frustrations with respect to the cost of living notice. Part of the way you earn trust is by action. And what this government is all about is action.
What? That entire humongous word salad has absolutely nothing to do with the question. And what we're watching here, Canada, happen is seeing Mark Carney in real time learning his 3 or 4 talking points. So you remember back in the dark days of Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland when they were in front of all of the country's cameras, and no matter what question they were asked, they would fall back on their standard 3 or 4 speaking points. We're watching Mark Carney do this in real time. So what he's gonna say is, we're in a tough economic time. Trust requires action. I'm the guy that's going to be able to deliver these actions to Canadians. And I wasn't a politician until 2 months ago. So he's positioning himself as still an outsider to this entire incestuous group in the Liberal Party of Canada, when we know nothing could be further from the truth. Sheila, tell us what Mark Carney knew about that bridge. Tell us.
I'll tell you what Mark Carney knew about the Freedom Convoy for sure. He wrote an article in the Globe and Mail which said that the Freedom Convoy should be treated as, his words, seditionist. Time to end the sedition in Ottawa by enforcing the law and following the money. Now, the law he wanted enforced, of course, was the Emergencies Act, which we've come to find out, and which we knew any normal person knew at the time, was illegally invoked, as what was happening, the honking in Ottawa, did definitely not rise to the level of a 9/11 style attack on the homeland. He claimed he was an Ottawa resident. I'd love to see that on paper, because he testified in the United States just last year that he was a resident of Europe. Now, he said it's sedition to honk your horn, like an attack on the homeland from within. That's what he claimed. And he also said, and what's interesting to note there is, follow the money. So use FinTrack to track down the donors to the Freedom Convoy, to freeze the crowdfunding, and to make sure that the bank accounts were frozen of people who donated to the Freedom Convoy as though they were terrorism financiers. These are the same people who can't figure out who's funding all those pro-Hamas rallies on the streets of Toronto. So he was deeply involved in what was going on with the Freedom Convoy, and his name came up in the Public Order Emergency Commission documents, being in direct communication with, thank you guys, being in direct communication with the cabinet ministers making decisions. So if we want to read that directly, they're talking, this is the infamous tanks. How many tanks do we need? As if they were joking.
So this is this is a text chain between Marco Mendicino and David, former, what was he, minister?
Lametti.
David Lametti. That's right. You need to get the police to move, and the CAF if necessary. This is the Canadian Armed Forces, if necessary. Too many people are being seriously adversely impacted by what is an occupation. I'm going to get out as soon as I can. People are looking to you, us, for leadership, and not stupid people. People like Carney, Kath, my team. And then the response is, how many tanks are you asking for? I just want to ask Anita how many we've got on hand. These are Liberal Party insiders. Carney was the architect of the Freedom Convoy takedown. And he's trying to absolve himself from this disastrous situation that was responsible for freeing Canadians of the tyranny of the terrible dark times of COVID. And here is Mark Carney trying to distance himself from his own actions during that time. This is egregious.
Yeah, we're not hard of remembering. Can we bring up the date of that Globe and Mail article, please?
Oh, February 7th, 2022.
Okay, so the date of the text messages is February 2nd, 2022. So he's pressuring them to act, and then he writes this op-ed as cover for them to act. Can't you see? Now we have prominent Ottawa resident, as if Mark Carney, calling for us to do something. How could we not act? But we know that he was communicating with them 5 days earlier. This is one of those Telford planted op-eds to give the Liberal government cover to do the illegal thing that they did to innocent Canadians.
This guy's a scumbag, an absolute
snake. What a snake.
Yep, a scumbag snake, and he is our installed Prime Minister of Canada. This is what we've got, Canada. We must do everything we can to make sure that he doesn't remain Prime Minister for long.
What an abject liar. He just lies right through his teeth. You cannot trust a single thing that he says. Nope. I just became a politician just a couple of weeks ago. You're in the text messages. We all saw them. He's lying about things that we have document evidence to prove.
And it's so funny because at the time I remember, like when that text thread was released, I remember thinking, like, who is this Carney character? Like, I was unfamiliar with him at that time, and it didn't become obvious until he announced his candidacy for the Liberal Party of Canada, just how involved he was in that entire decimation of Canadian charter rights.
Yeah, he was the guy.
Now we know. You can't outrun us
for it. Yeah.
Yep. You can't outrun us, Mark Carney. We got your number. We're not letting it go.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.